And the time right now is 5 minutes. 5 minutes after 3 o'clock. Who's that voice you're saying? I thought he went home. Well, you know, every day I come to the studio and they lock me in a padded room. They lock me in, and today at 3 o'clock they actually forgot to come unlock the door. So I'm still locked in the padded. Send food! Somebody please send food. No, not really. This afternoon I am pleased to have with me in the studio Yvonne Lukes. Now the name doesn't mean anything to you, but it will in a moment. Yvonne Lukes is a volunteer with the Fresh Air Fund. The Fresh Air Fund serves children, and they've been doing it since 1877. And their main mission is that summertime, thousands of New York City children visit volunteer host families along the East Coast from North Carolina to Maine. And Yvonne, along with her husband Michael, hosts a New York child. Now in the studio with us today is the host child from the Bronx. He thinks that's New York. We tried to explain to him the difference. And that's Christopher. And joining us also are two of Yvonne's three sons, Matthew and Ethan. So Yvonne, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, boys.
Good afternoon.
Yes, and Ethan doesn't have a microphone, so yell out hello.
Hello.
There we go. That hello is from Ethan. So we have a full studio this afternoon. Now, Yvonne, a lot of our listening audience may not know what the Fresh Air Fund is all about. I did explain that you host children from New York City and that you are a volunteer. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Fresh Air Fund's, the agency, and their platform?
Well, the Fresh Air Fund hosts, as you said, New York City children, and they visit volunteer host families from all the way from North Carolina to Maine and southern Canada. And that is through their program called the Friendly Towns program. But the Fresh Air Fund is an independent, not-for-profit agency. And again, it's provided free and enriching summer experiences in the country to more than 1.8 million children. It's now going on its 140th summer with kids.
I see. Now, who are the Fresh Air children?
Fresh Air Fund kids are kids just like Chris. Can be boys or girls, and their ages are from 7 to 18. They live in New York City. Chris first visited us when he was 8 years old. The first visits are generally anywhere from the age of 7 to 12 years old, and the kids can stay with you for 1 or 2 weeks. And we've re-invited Chris because it's just been a really great experience. So he can continue, kids who are re-invited can continue with the program through the age of 18 and can even stay for longer periods of time. And most kids really are re-invited to stay with their host family years after year.
Okay, now so Chris, you're 13, you're from the Bronx. You've been coming to visit for 6 years. This is your 6th year. Tell our listening audience a little bit first about where you live in the Bronx. What's the Bronx like? Where do you go to school? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I live in the Bronx, yes. I go to school, I go to charter school #1, a top school in the country. I live East 161st Street, yeah. I live with my grandma. I'm supposed to be soon going with my mom, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
So, I'm 13, going to the 8th grade. Yeah.
Okay, now the first time you came to visit, the very first time you came here to the Lukes family. What was that first visit like? What was it like? Were you nervous? Were you scared? Were you excited?
I was excited, but at the time where I came off the bus to come here, I came a little bit nervous, so there are new people I didn't know, so I had to get used to it. Okay,
now you've come back 6 years in a row. Are these now family? Are these people now that you look forward to coming to see? And these are your summer brothers and your summer mom and your summer dad?
Yes.
And you like coming down here?
A lot.
What's the big difference between the Bronx and Williamsburg, Virginia? What's the big difference?
Williamsburg, Virginia is peaceful, where the Bronx is very loud, night and day.
Well, it's part of the New York environment. You're absolutely right. They say the city never sleeps, and you living in the Bronx, you know that, right? Like you said, night and day. Well, that's great. Great hearing from you. What about the families, Yvonne? Tell us a little about the volunteer host families.
Well, I guess they're just families just like us. The Fresh Air Funds, they describe us as host families who open their hearts and homes to New York City children during the summer. Host families live in the suburbs, small towns, or rural areas, and we just want to share basically the simple joys of our community.
Okay, let me go over to Matthew. Matthew, 6 years ago, you and Chris are the same age. 6 years ago, this kid from New York was coming for the first time. Think back then, if you can. What did it feel like the first time he arrived? What were you expecting or hoping for?
Well, I didn't know what to expect. I had never experienced something like this before. I was hoping for someone who had the same interest as me, and I got what I asked for.
You did get what you asked for.
Yeah, Chris has been great.
Okay, now he's been coming here for 6 years. What are some of the things you guys do when he's here for the few weeks that he's visiting?
Well, we normally do camps. Like, he's doing basketball camp, and we go to beaches a lot because he definitely likes the beach.
Yeah, well, I can and Chris, you can confirm there's no beaches in the Bronx.
Not much.
Yeah, not the kind of beaches that we have. You know, you have Coney Island down, in Brooklyn, but that's far from the Bronx for a kid to go to. Well, thanks very much, Matthew. Now, Yvonne, how are the local communities managed? How are the kids managed? How does this all happen? How do they participate? What actually makes it work?
Well, the volunteer communities are called friendly towns, and each one is managed by a committee of volunteer leaders. And the committee does everything from publicizing the Fresh Air Fund on a local level to screening prospective host families. The volunteer committee is available to assist hosts with Fresh Air kids during the visit. And all committees are run by chairpeople, supervised by volunteer fund representatives who report to staff from the Fresh Air Fund's New York City office. So in Hampton Roads, we're fortunate enough to have Amy Whitcover-Sanford, who's just been fabulous, makes the process really easy. It's thorough. They try to keep the kids safe. Very, very easy to get involved with this program thanks to her and their committees.
Yeah, now if our listening audience wanted to find out more information about the Fresh Air Fund, do you guys have a website and a phone number that they can call for more information?
Yes, I'd encourage you to look at their website first. It's www.freshair.org, and they have a 1-800 number. It's 800-367-0003.
So freshair.org, ladies and gentlemen, freshair.org online, or the phone number 800-367-0003 for more information about the Fresh Air Fund. Remember, this is an organization that brings New York City children who live in the city down here to the country for a few weeks every summer. They do it from North Carolina all the way up to Maine, and even some southern Canadians do get involved also. What is the thing you enjoy most about being a host family, Yvonne, you and your husband? The first year, it's a try. Maybe we'll try this. The second year, it went okay. But the third year, the fourth year, what do you like about it?
Well, at this point, I don't really have to think about it. I mean, Christopher is just part of our family. We kind of expect him to come. It's the easiest thing on the planet to do. Christopher is a great kid, but I love that he enjoys really, really simple things, and we're getting him back in our community too. So we get to rediscover things like Jamestown Beach, which is a great spot. You don't have to have a lot of money to do this. In fact, the point is just to get them outdoors, and it gets us moving too. But the friendship that these guys have, and just the feeling I get from doing this. You know, Chris, I can't say enough good things about you, but I hope that he's part of our life for, well, forever.
Yeah. Now, how do the kids get here from New York? Who picks up the tab for them to get here, and how do they get here?
Well, the kids get here by charter bus. In fact, that's how they get to pretty much all the places that we've discussed, North Carolina, Southern Canada. And we have volunteers that ride with them on these trips, and Chris knows the volunteers well at this point. And basically, the Fresh Air Fund, none of us really pays a dime for anything. Chris's family, we don't pay anything. I think they just have great fundraising efforts that make this happen. So
you get some assistance from the organization, but you also volunteer your home, your time, your friendship, and more importantly, your love. Right.
It's just ridiculously easy through the Fresh Air Fund.
So, Chris, Yvonne just said that she hopes you keep coming. Do you want to come back again? Do you like coming? You've been doing it for 6 years now, so it's pretty much a normal thing every summer. Do you look forward to it?
Yes, I look forward to it. I just love coming back.
You just love coming back. And you're going to keep doing it as long as you can?
Yeah.
How about you, Matthew? Do you want him to keep coming back? You got to say the right answer, because he's close enough he can slug you. You know,
Yeah,
because that's what brothers do. They beat on each other every now and then. Yeah, let's get the little guy over here by Mom. Ethan, you don't have a microphone over where you are, so come over here near Mom. And let me ask you, how do you like being part of the Fresh Air Fund family that has hosted? Now, you're young. How old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
You're 11, so you're a little younger. So how have you been liking the fact that Chris has been coming to visit every summer?
I really like it. It's fun to have him over.
Okay, and do your brothers and he, do they fight like normal brothers fight, or do they really get along well?
Well, sometimes they get along.
Sometimes they get Okay, well, you know, brothers, sometimes that's what family's all about. Sometimes you argue, but most of the time, as I tell my grandson, I like you sometimes, but I love you all the time. So that's great. Well, Ethan and Christopher and Matthew, thank you three guys so much for coming in. Before we wrap it up, Yvonne, is there anything else you would like to let our listening audience know about what you're doing with the Fresh Air Fund?
Well, I'd encourage everybody to look at their website at freshair.org, and you know, I look forward to having more families in Williamsburg join in. There are more kids that need placement that aren't finding families to host them. So I encourage us to really build a community here. If you're planning on having fun over the summer, then this is probably something you should look into.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you all for coming in. Yvonne Lutz, we'll be talking with Yvonne, who, with her husband Michael, host a New York City child every summer. They've been hosting for the last 6 years. Christopher, who's with us in the studio, he's from the Bronx, New York. And, of course, two of their three sons joined them today, Matthew and Ethan. Thank you all so much. Go to freshair.org and find out more and how you can help this great organization. Okay, guys, before we turn the microphones off, our radio station is WMBG AM740. So, I'm going to ask you, in your best radio voices, all of you at the same time, what radio station is the best radio station in Williamsburg?
WMBG AM740.
You got it. Thank you very much. We'll be back with more of America's Best Music right after this.